As many expected, day 12 of the Diddy trial was shaping up to be another forgettable stretch, a dreary procession of legal motions, paperwork shuffles, and procedural back and forths. But everything flipped in an instant when Eddie Murphy quietly slipped into the courthouse through a side entrance nobody was watching. It was like the room shifted on its axis. The jury collectively leaned forward, Diddy visibly tensed in his seat, and reporters shot upright like a starter's pistol had fired. Even the seasoned legal teams, unshaken by months of this case, hadn't seen this coming. Eddie was here, and when he finally opened his mouth, his words detonated far beyond those courtroom walls. He began with a simple, weighty declaration. I stayed silent for decades, but after what I witnessed, I had to leave Hollywood, and I've carried it with me ever since, sitting upright in the witness box. Dressed to perfection in a sharp-tailored suit, Eddie Murphy radiated a quiet, immovable calm, but his eyes told a different story. Decades of buried memories clung to him like ghosts. He wasted no time. After stating his name for the record, he turned and locked eyes with Diddy, who sat at the defense table with an empty, hollow expression. Then Eddie leaned into the mic and dropped a line that sent a cold shiver through the room. I left Hollywood because I saw too much. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The entire courtroom held its breath. No shouting, no drama. Eddie's voice alone froze the air. He took them back to 2006, a period when his career was riding high once again. It felt like I was 25 again, he reflected, recalling the wave of offers, studio deals, and glowing award chatter, until a single late-night phone call forever changed the trajectory of his life. A prominent producer invited him to a private estate gathering in the Hollywood Hills. No agenda, no rules. Just the kind of whispered-about gathering where careers are made overnight. His curiosity won out. Eddie confessed he'd heard stories for years about these exclusive circles. Everybody knew about Diddy's infamous parties, he said. Phones surrendered at the door. No cameras, no questions asked. He assumed it would be another night of music, drinks, and celebrity bravado. But the second he arrived, his gut told him something was off. He painted a vivid picture of the sprawling estate, iron gates requiring biometric scans, a valet in jet black attire confiscating his phone and handing him a cryptic note that read, "One phrase tonight, be who you really are." Inside, the vibe was anything but festive. It wasn't electric, it was unnervingly quiet. Like a place of worship, only absent of sanctity. Scanning the room, Eddie recognized familiar faces behaving in unfamiliar ways. Nobody was drunk, nobody was wild, it was calculated, controlled, like they knew somebody was watching. Then in a surreal moment, a robed figure and a woman in towering stilettos silently moved down a dimly lit hallway. That's when it hit me, Eddie said. This wasn't a party, this was power. When asked why he didn't immediately leave, Eddie was blunt. Because I needed to see it for myself. God forgive me. But I had to understand what I was looking at. And then, as if summoned, Diddy appeared, arms wide, beaming like a long-lost brother. "Brother," he greeted Eddie. "About time you came home." Eddie forced a grin, but inside, dread gripped him. He wasn't talking about Hollywood, Eddie clarified. He meant this. Diddy gave him a private tour, murmuring introductions, pointing out which producers had just bankrolled $200 million blockbusters, which actors were now in his pocket. The tour halted before a heavy wooden door. Diddy stared into Eddie's eyes and spoke. "This is where choices get made. You want to stay funny and broke, or you want to level up?" At first, Eddie thought it was a twisted joke, but Diddy didn't so much as blink. Through the slightly ajar door, Eddie spotted a tripod, a camera, in plain view. People entered looking anxious, and left either euphoric or wrecked. Eddie feigned needing a drink and tried to discreetly leave, but a woman intercepted him. "You done with the experience yet?" she asked, handing him a drink. Nobody leaves before the experience. That word. The experience, it rang in his head like a warning bell. Back in the main lounge, Eddie's gut screamed at him to run, and then came the moment that confirmed every dark suspicion. They took a group of us into a back room. The lights were low, no music, velvet drapes, candlelight, a long table lined with covered silver trays. Among the guests, Eddie spotted familiar faces. One of them, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And then it happened. Diddy stood at the head of the table, raised a glass and declared, "Tonight's about potential. Greatness don't come cheap. You want to run Hollywood? Show me." A tray was placed before Dwayne. A gloved hand lifted the lid, revealing raw monkey brains, pink, slick, grotesque. Some guests stifled uneasy laughter, others turned away. But Diddy zeroed in on Dwayne and said, "Eat that, and the roll's yours." Eddie's voice cracked, retelling what happened next. Dwayne hesitated, glanced around the room, then did it, swallowed it down. Diddy clapped like a proud father. "That's what I'm talking about," he cheered. "Who's next?" Eddie froze. Every instinct screamed for an exit. Diddy approached. "You ready, preacher boy?" "I wasn't expecting this," Eddie stammered. "Then why you here?" And that was it. Eddie knew he had to leave. "I wasn't afraid of what they'd do to me," he admitted. "I was afraid of what they could do to others." As he bolted for the door, Diddy called after him, "You'll be back when you're ready to really make it." Eddie never came back. He described how his career collapsed overnight. Projects vanished. Promised roles recast. His agency stopped calling. I didn't just leave a party, Eddie explained. I left Hollywood's secret chamber, the place nobody talks about, where humiliation is currency and silence is survival. One former supporter reportedly muttered to a colleague, "He's not aligned anymore." That word haunted Eddie. Aligned with what? Diddy? Velvet-draped ceremonies? Ritual trays? Blood-lit rooms? His face betrayed nothing, but the fractures were there. He told the jury how no one had to fire him or blackball him publicly. They just stopped calling. That's how the machine works. Not with guns, but with absence. The invitations dry up. The meetings stall. Your phone falls silent. Eddie tried to keep working, writing scripts, pitching projects, lending his voice, but every road led nowhere. Meetings full of polite nods and empty promises. It was like floating outside the gates, Eddie said. Once certain offers slowed to a trickle, then to nothing. Then came the line that gripped the room. You don't have to sell your soul in Hollywood. But if you don't, they'll convince the world you never had one. When asked outright if he believed he was blacklisted, Eddie didn't hesitate. Yes, not out of bitterness, out of cold clinical truth. He explained how the industry operates not through public firings, but through whispered phone calls, private dinners, and small invisible decisions. No one announces it, no one says it aloud, but you know when it happens. He detailed how the same studio heads who once fought to cast him suddenly got too busy or shifted budgets. I watched my career dissolve in slow motion. Prosecutors introduced damning emails between executives marking his name with the words "not aligned." Pass Eddie leaned toward the microphone. I want you to understand something. Hollywood's blacklist doesn't wear a name tag. It smiles at you while it erases you. He clarified that it wasn't because he made trouble, but because he refused to be harmed. That alone was enough. Then came the day's sharpest accusation. You think Diddy blackballed people alone? He had help, a whole damn network. He turned to the jury. This isn't just about what happened in that house. It's about how many people built careers on other people's silence. As his testimony shifted from cold facts to personal wounds, the room went still. Asked how exile changed him, Eddie stared ahead. It broke me. Not all at once, piece by piece. A career doesn't vanish overnight. It dissolves. His friends never knew. He feared they wouldn't believe him. Or worse, that if they did, they'd be next. There were days, he confessed, I didn't leave my house. Not because of what happened to me, but what I saw happen to others. It was his family that saved him. My kids' laughter would pull me out of the spiral. He clung to faith, not for show, but to survive. I stopped asking God why, started asking when. When would the world listen? Now, at last. He believed the cracks were showing. I'm not alone anymore. He mentioned Cassie Ventura's breaking voice, Monique's sworn testimony, and an old recording from Prince. This time, Eddie wouldn't stay silent. I don't need a book deal. I need peace. And peace only comes when the truth gets louder than the lie. His kids, now grown, once asked why he quit acting. And I couldn't lie to them. I didn't quit because I got tired. I quit because I refused to lose myself to gain a career. He fixed his gaze on the jurors.